wrapping up our discussion of Apple's Spring Forward event. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. Uncensored, off-topic, and always off the wall. MacVoices After Dark is available as a benefit to our Patreon subscribers. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is part 3 in a 3-part MacVoices Live discussion where we wrap up Apple's spring-loaded event. In the first couple episodes, we talked about things like the new iPad Pro, the M1 iMac, and a few of the other announcements and ancillary things. This time, we dig into the Apple Card, the new Apple TV and Siri Remote, and podcasting as well. So let's go right back to the panel. We're starting to run down on my target time, and we're going to go over a little bit because I don't want to just dismiss all the other announcements, but I also don't want to spend a whole lot of time on them. So we had, we have a new Apple TV. We have a new podcast subscription service and podcast app. What am I missing?
Apple Card updates.
Apple Card update.
My comment on that is, finally, why weren't these features available at launch?
Okay, but aren't they? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't follow a lot of other credit cards because I don't have a lot of other credit cards. But this is the first co-owner card that I have seen. This isn't, I go apply for the card, I get the credit card, and I can now bestow one upon Mr. Kelly if I see fit. This is, I have it, and also he has it, and it's the same, and it's both of ours equally, and not the 5149 situation it is that I've had with other cards I've had before. It's more like a bank account than a credit card account, right?
Well, they said it, both people get, it goes on their credit score. One thing I'm wondering is how do they track who's using it? Like it says you could give it to your kids, I guess if they're over 13. Mm-hmm. How do they know? And then it was like, well, it'll give you, it'll break down the spending by person, but how does it know who is spending?
It uses virtual numbers, so everyone can have their own virtual number.
Yeah. So when I set up the Apple Card on my phone, it's going to have a number that ends in 1234. And when Mr. Kelly sets up the exact same Apple Card on his iPhone, it's going to be 5678. And so Apple will always know which card was tied to that transaction, whether I'm using, bonk my arm on the thing to pay or double tap this button on my phone in order to do it. They'll know by the number.
Well,
they're saying that the Apple Card customers can add up to 5 people to the same account, but they all have to be part of the same family sharing group in order to be invited. So they are linking it to family sharing, which is an interesting thing to see. And then I guess the 18 years old and older is going to be the co-owner, and to give them the opportunity to build up their credit. So maybe a parent wants to add their adult child to help build their credit. So you got that option. So
it was a very interesting thing, and I think it's going to have more repercussions as it comes out and as more people get signed up for it and stuff. I'm curious to see where that one goes. I felt like that one was really interesting, and we spent no time on it. Hi, here's Apple Card. Now let's talk about AirTags.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. It's not a whiz bang thing, but it is an evolution of the service, and it's something that the financial people are going to pay attention to.
But it sounds like it's also an evolution of having a credit card, which is the reason that I thought it was really interesting and was wanting to know if anyone else had seen anything where it was an actual co-ownership of a credit card like this before, because I've never seen that, and I thought it was interesting. So
I think Tim Cook even mentioned it, and he didn't mention it by name. I'm sure it was the Barclays card that didn't have anywhere near the flexibility that Goldman Sachs is going to give them being able to do this, because it says that they're going to allow the two spouses to merge their accounts into one, take the credit limits, and whoever has the best APR will get the one account will get that APR. So. Yeah. So I commend them for doing that. I mean, I like the card. I'm getting a lot of good perks with the 3% and 2% with Apple Pay. And I pay it off every month, and it got a little extra few dollars in my Apple Cash card too.
Yeah.
Especially when I buy the iPad.
Yeah.
Craig in the chat room says he's excited about the new Apple TV. He says, "Give me 3." Okay, Craig. Good.
Wow. Okay.
Is the same person going to buy it? Who's
But
going to buy the iPad for Jeff and I?
Because if so, let's all get coordinated.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know
yeah. It's only
It says
remote.
give me
The
3,
remote.
not I'll buy 3.
Actually, if I remember, hold on, I got to go back and see because he did. Oh no, he said he was going to keep his. He said he was going to keep his current. This is Craig. He said he was going to keep his current iPad Pro and buy $2,399 worth of AirTags. So I'm sorry, guys. I think Jeff and Brittany, you're out of luck.
Yeah, you are.
Oh.
Yeah.
that doesn't mean our financier won't come through.
Oh, that's
Don't
valid.
deny me
Good point.
hope.
Good point.
That's valid.
Jeez.
Is the
I
Apple?
want
Is the
some of
new
the
Apple?
remote? The remote.
Is what is the yeah, and Brittany does too. But is the Apple TV a big thing? Is the improvements in the box? Leave the remote out for just a second.
Very little.
But okay, so
Evolution. 4K
Evolution.
S. It's not a new
think
iteration.
I think it means more for gamers, assuming Apple can continue to grow their gaming platform. Putting that A12X processor in the new Apple TV brings it closer to being a powerful gaming machine. We just need to see if Apple can get developers to follow through and actually turn the new Apple TV into a true gaming machine.
I think the big news is they're not discontinuing it this year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's
a lot of people,
it's not a stick, which I'm disappointed in.
well,
the pricing is high. I mean, $20 for a 64 gig and $179 for a 32 gig. So
It shouldn't. I'm still insulted by that price tag.
you know, it doesn't seem like they still haven't established, you know, why they have this product. You know, I think a lot of people were like, you know, what's the point of this? And you know, I'm glad they didn't discontinue it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but it, you know, it does seem like it's just sort of wandering around. I did see something that apparently it has, and I don't remember the name of it, but the feature that the HomePod Mini has.
Oh, Thread.
Red.
So it can drive. It can be a hub for HomeKit
For
devices,
smart home
I guess.
devices.
It's your
Smart home.
resident
that's
hub.
Smart home, yeah.
that could be a big thing.
Mhm.
Yes,
Brittany,
but yeah.
Brittany, you have a remote story.
Oh, it's mostly being silly. So I have a 3rd generation Apple TV, which is before the Siri Remote and that one. And my boyfriend watched this with me because he likes to see me get all excited when I think I know what's coming. And so we're watching it. I was like, yeah. So everyone's been. I'm like trying to preface it so he understands what's happening. I was like, because I was saying, I really hope there's a new remote. And he goes, yeah, they really need a new remote. That's terrible. I was like, oh no, honey. There's a new one. It's worse than the one I have. The one I have is the good one. And he goes, oh.
The one you hate isn't even the worst. Yeah.
I was like, oh no, they got worse. And he goes, oh. Yeah, I hope there's a better one.
You know, I bought this silicon case for like $6 for my Apple
Yeah.
TV remote, and as far as I'm
Same.
concerned, that fixed the whole thing. I'm perfectly happy with it.
That's
You
what I
can
did.
no longer mistake which way. It always comes up the right way. It makes it a little thicker and grippy. And, you know, I have no complaints. I'm not going out and spending $60 on a new remote
And
or
for
buying a
example,
new one.
you can buy it now. You can buy it
And,
separate.
that, you know, that I saw, you know, like apparently you can buy the Chrome stick, the whole thing and the remote for $50. And for
Mhm.
Apple, just the remote is $60.
And if you watch, you can buy a Fire TV 4K stick for like $25.
Right.
Like, even if you want to buy a spendy one, it's about $50. Like, if you want a Roku 4K, does all the things except go get you the beer to drink while you're watching the TV, like that one is like $50, and you don't have to look very hard to find one for $50. So for Apple to go, it's going to be $180, and you have to find a place for it. And we know that we're the people who gave you a power adapter with an Ethernet thing in it, so you can put that on the floor and there's one less cable. We're still going to make it so that TV that you hang on the wall has to have a a cord coming out of it that goes to the Apple TV, and the Apple TV needs its own power cord and a whole other thing. So like now it's a situation. It's not just stick it in the HDMI port and move on with your life. No. We're going to make you do a whole bunch of extra stuff because we have a remote you can talk to. I mean, what?
Well,
like,
it's an
no.
iMac Mini.
And it's going to cost you $180 for that privilege, even before you get to the point where, like, yeah, if you want to put stuff of consequence on the Apple TV, it's going to cost you another $20, and you're already at $200 for a marginally better remote. I don't know that it's necessarily all that much better. Like Jim, I took a $6 glow in the dark silicone option for mine, and it sucks less. It's not good, but it is less bad that way. And like, honestly, I have a lot of feelings about the Apple TV.
How do you really feel?
You know, I was going to tell you, but I thought I should tone it down.
We don't know how the new one is because we all thought the current one sounded really good when they announced it.
I mean, if the new one looks, I mean, you know, let's not talk about, let's leave, Kelly, calm down. Let's talk about the new remote. I mean, does it solve the problems?
Maybe.
It does a little bit. Well, we won't know until we get it in our hands and try.
I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like it.
I think it's interesting that they went back to the iPod to find the thing that made it so everyone could use a remote effectively, instead of just giving people a TV remote.
But I think the thing that's neat on that remote is, well, the iPod Ring, if you run your finger around it, you can go forward and backwards on whatever you're watching. That I like.
Just like on an iPod. Do I need to get it out of my bag again and show you that's how the wheel worked on the iPod from however many hundred years ago that we talked about 2 weeks ago? Same thing. Yeah.
Well, it's Jim, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm kind of disappointed or surprised that they didn't reduce the price of the HD Apple TV to $99.95 at least, or you know that's still available, and it's still $150 for that. You know, how many years old is that? That's ridiculous. That, you know, they should reduce the price on that.
As Brian Chaffin over at Mac Observer says all the time, I don't want to pay 2021 money for 2017 technology. And that's exactly what's happening with that. They should have phased out the previous iteration. They should have made the worst ever remote version the less expensive version, because then at least everything they're offering is 4K, and then made the new one with the new nifty remote the thing that comes in at the top tier. That's what they should have done. They should have only given us like the larger storage on the previous iteration of the 4K, and at least something like this feels insulting. This feels like, was it the iPhone 7 that came with that still came in like a 32 gig size? The one that was just insulting? Like, that's what this feels like, is the same sort of thing. Like, why are you doing this? There's absolutely no reason for it. And it just feels insulting.
Speaking of insulting, did you notice that if you monetize your podcast through Apple, they're going to take 30%?
Only the first year, then it's 15%. I know that's not helping.
Welcome.
Just so we're clear.
Before we get to the podcast, Mark, I mean, what are your thoughts on the Apple TV? Is this, I mean, Kelly's made it very clear what her thoughts are, but is she out of control? Or is that a new thing?
Probably, but am I incorrect?
There's two questions there. I'll answer the first one first. So on the Apple TV, what that tells me is, you know, they basically say, okay, we're doing it here. It's, you know, it's higher resolution, more storage, you know, better remote. You know, that tells me that there's probably enough of a fan base out there that are buying it, that it's worth doing the upgrade for. It's probably not a barn burner of the most successful product that they have. You know, say maybe I expect probably they make more money selling earbuds than they do Apple TVs. But, you know, it's something they want to keep in their lineup. You know, I think probably more for strategic reasons about the future than it is necessary that one product is really successful. But certainly at those prices, what that tells me is that they're doing it and they're they're applying whatever their standard business model gross margin expectations are. So to me, it seems like it's a natural update. And, I think, I've heard so much hate about the old Apple TV remote control recently that, I think maybe this is, they've taken a good effort to try to fix some of their problems. And I think, as other members of the panel said, no one will really know until, that people get it in their hands. But I think with so much of Apple, it seems that, they put a lot of emphasis on big, bold product introductions like the M1 Macs from last year, as well as the new iMac this year. And they're leveraging the hell out of the M1 by saying, oh, it's now in the iPad, because we had Tim Cook, on the assembly line doing it, as well as, they're putting in the Apple TV. So in that regard, I think we'll just have to see. And don't bitch. If it's not for you, just don't buy it, ignore it, buy a Roku or something else.
Sound practical advice.
One point I'll add to Jim's previous comment about the Apple TV HD. I could see Apple's justification of keeping the price the same because they added the new remote to it, because the old one had the old remote with it. So I don't justify the cost really, because that's not real fair. I mean, obviously it's $30 less than going with the new model, but I'm seeing what they're doing is because they include the new Siri remote with the HD model. So.
Yep. Paul in the chat room says they lowered the price on HomePods and look what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say the power button on the new remote that will control your TV is an interesting idea. And part of the reason it's interesting is because of the interoperability that we're getting from everything. And I'm interested to see where that goes. Because we've seen some other stuff. We saw that Logitech gave the Harmony stuff the axe. So they're not going to actively be doing anything on that front anymore, which means there's people are going to be looking for something to replace that. I think it's called CLC or something like that, where you can control everything with your TV remote if you have the right codes and hook up a DVD player or a Roku or something like that. So I think Apple getting in on that is sort of an interesting thing, and I'm curious to see what that looks like in practice once people have it out in the world and can do maybe something with the power button. I wonder how many people are going to let that just be the TV remote.
Well, Kelly, what if this is a precursor to Apple having a Remote Pro that has shortcut buttons on it, and you set up Apple shortcuts? And so there's like 4 buttons at the bottom that are just for specific automations that you control with your home theater.
Hey, Jeff,
are you telling me?
What if this is a precursor to an Apple TV?
Are you speculating that Apple drove Logitech out of the remote business?
Sure, why not?
Okay, I'm here for that.
I know you love crackpot theories, and I hadn't thought of it till now, but yes, let's run with it.
I pink, puffy, glittery heart my Logitech remotes. I hate configuring them with the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns.
Same.
That software makes me want to test that remote for aerodynamic factors and see how hard I can huck it out a window, because that software is the worst. So as sad as I am that they're not going to actively support it anymore, it means at least I don't probably ever have to use that stupid thing ever again. That steaming pile of code is hateful. And so I really, really don't want to have to do that. But yeah, if it's maybe Apple is tippy-toeing into the market by like letting you just turn your TV on and off with the Apple TV remote, and now maybe we're going to get something a little better in the future, I'd be here for that.
I'd be totally up for that.
This edition of MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers and MacVoices After Dark. Ever wonder what happens before the MacVoices live shows? Or what happens when the show ends or after the live feed closes? That's where MacVoices After Dark comes in. If you are a Patreon supporter at any level, you get access to the video of our off-camera conversations. Uncensored, unedited, and always off the wall. It's a small thank you to our Patreon supporters who want to peek behind the curtain. Become a Patreon subscriber at patreon.com/MacVoices. And thanks to everyone who supports the show. Let's just touch on podcasts and then wrap this up. Because I just got a text from Kelly's doctor, and he's strongly suggesting we wrap the show before she has a stroke.
He uses an Apple D-flip machine.
That's all fake. My doctor's a woman who would have just said, have 2 glasses of wine during this show.
I think maybe it's more like a keg, but
explains it.
Yeah, but the Apple podcast thing.
Chuck,
I mean,
wine doesn't come in kegs.
Cask. Excuse me, cask. I was thinking the wrong thing.
Or
It comes in
wine
boxes, Chuck.
don't
It comes in boxes.
In boxes. Yeah, there we go.
As
It
well
comes
as
in
good old
vans.
bottles. Low tech.
I've lost control again.
Yes, you have.
The podcast situation. Is this? I mean, there are a bunch of podcast producers here on this show. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Does it make a difference to us?
I'm a little concerned just because I went into the Podcast Connect app because I can't even get into the iTunes Connect app. So they've changed things. I mean, I know my podcast is still there because it's still being published through iTunes, but I don't know if I have to set up a new account. I mean, I'm a little concerned just making sure I get access to my episode, my show, I should say. But I see what they're trying to do. I mean, I like the fact that we potentially could do another means of revenue stream by having something within Apple where everybody is subscribed to Apple as it is anyway. So that gives us the opportunity to potentially get in on that. Will it drive a lot of money? I don't know. And plus, I would assume Apple's going to take probably 30% of
30% first year, 15% after that.
Same as all subscriptions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, that's fine. The thing I have not had time to look at this, so you all may know more than I do, but I have not been clear on whether this is just a revenue play for those of us who want to put it out there for free. And if somebody decides to subscribe, is it an optional subscription, or is it an optional payment, or can I make it free? That's the first thing. The second question is if I have subscribers through Overcast or Downcast or Pocket Cast or any of the third parties, how does that play into it, if at all? I mean, there's so many things around this. And to your point, David,
good question. I guess.
Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, that's a good question. I guess I'm wondering, sort of the overall, maybe global thing is impact on podcasters is how many podcasters actually have the ability to have premium content and also have a relationship with an audience that would be willing to pay for premium content, because this is a dramatic change in business model. And maybe it's driven in competition with some of the things Spotify is doing. But it seems like this is stratification and dramatic change in what we've heretofore considered podcasting. Or I think, Chuck, you said on the show you did with Ken Ray in a few minutes, he made the point of he no longer knows what is a podcast. And sort of I'm in the same boat. I mean, we listen to podcasts, we watch podcasts, we listen to YouTube stuff, and it all it's sort of the overarching issue seems to be it's widely distributed user produced content. Originally it was it's audio, and then it's automatically easy to publish, easy to download, easy to listen to. But I think we've seen that everything has exploded in terms of the ability of people to consume and produce media. So I really wonder how many people are out there will subscribe, is it a fixed $20 a year, or do you have the ability to say, well, my guys, I want just $1 a month or something like that. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that, I look to the lead of, the podcast producers on the show to learn about and report back to us in future conversations.
The thing I'm going to be curious about is how it is for places that now have a paid subscription. For example, I have a podcast over at The Incomparable. You knew I was going to weigh in on this. I'm the person here that everybody jokes about, like I have all the podcasts. So I'm curious what it's going to be like for something like The Incomparable, where you can go to The Incomparable and explicitly sign up for a membership, which gets you particular perks in certain ways. You get to join the member Slack, and there's treats that get mailed to you. And like Matt Geek Gab is one that we all know and have some relationship with in some way. And Matt Geek Gab is the same sort of thing. You can be a paid member. And so what I'm wondering is how those paid avenues work. Are you just offering somebody like Jason Snell, who's the head of the Incomparable, like, are you just offering him another avenue for people to subscribe? Because we already had the wave of information in like one of the 14.5 betas where the subscribe button in the Apple Podcast app became the follow button because they were saving the subscribe button for when you pay for things. So I think, thank you, Brittany. I think Jason did talk about it a little bit on Upgrade today after the event. What I'm interested in, and I don't know if we're going to know, I'm sure Apple is going to have information they make available to people who need to know this sort of thing. What it actually looks like. Like, is this just another way? Like, can you just check a box and like, if people want to pay for it through the Apple app, they can, sort of like they do with other subscription services, or is this going to be a very different thing? And I think we will know how hard they're gunning for Spotify when it turns into, this is an exclusive thing that you can pay for through the Apple Podcast app that you can't get any other way.
Okay, Kelly, you hit the important word, which is exclusive. And I think that's the real question about Apple's podcast subscription platform. Is this something where Jason, for example, can offer his premium content through his own network and then allow people to subscribe independently through Apple's platform? Or is this something where you have to commit exclusively to Apple's platform and you can't do your own thing outside?
I read that it was not exclusive. They weren't locking down podcasters.
Okay, then in that case, it just becomes another avenue where you can draw subscribers in outside of what you're already doing.
I think they're just saying for podcast creators that this is the way that, Apple's going to make it really easy for people to sign up, where, all the existing ones, you got to go out of channel and do stuff. And I saw something that was talking about like, well, you might want to like have, extra episodes that only subscribers get, or maybe subscribers get it earlier, like maybe they get to listen to the podcast 2 days earlier. And if you don't pay, then, you get the same content later, that sort of thing. But, it's not exclusive, and you could still have ads. Apple's not stopping you from monetizing it some other way. So I think for now they don't have the leverage. They'd probably love to make it exclusive, but
maybe that will change. But I like that the idea for now that it's not.
And this is okay. First of all, I want to be real clear. I have no plans for this, and I am not picking on any one application out there. So I'm going to use Overcast as my example. But if Apple decides to say, if you subscribe through us, you get a piece of the action through this subscription, then am I going to want to take it off of Overcast?
I think just if there's content that you can only, pay for it through Apple's system, then I don't know this for a fact, but I think you're going to have to listen to it on podcast and, Apple's software. You won't be able to listen to that on Overcast.
There you go.
Here's what I'm visualizing, at least with as it is today. Set up your premium service for your show, and you set it up the same on Apple's podcast platform and Overcast or wherever else you're going to do it. And now it's just a matter of where did they sign up?
Well, but Overcast doesn't have there's no payment on Overcast.
Right.
Exactly.
But yeah, what I mean is wherever it is that you have chosen to set up your own premium subscription thing. And so you have that, and then you're just setting up the same thing again. So it's redundant in Apple's platform. And now people sign up either place. And of course, now you're managing your premium content through two channels, but it's multiple places where people can sign up. That's what I'm hoping it actually
Overcast doesn't, the only thing
I don't mean Overcast. Forget Overcast.
Maybe Spotify has, something. I mean, basically, we haven't seen anything technical sounds like, maybe Apple is, not going to use RSS for this content.
I doubt that.
Yeah.
Well,
so
but
Jim,
then
what
they'd
I
have to
meant
somehow
was,
have a private feed or something so that, how are they going to prevent Overcast users from listening to this?
well, it would be the same way that that you do it currently. It's just Apple doing it. So when I said Overcast, what I suppose I should have said is the service that you are using to manage your premium subscriber content.
Right.
And so maybe that's Patreon, maybe that's something else.
Like for some places you log into a Patreon or a Patreon, however they want you to say it. And that's where you access like the address for the feed that gives you those in your podcatcher of choice. And like at the Incomparable, you go and you hit the sign up, and then I think you get an email with it. And there are other ones that do things in a similar way. Like you go to their site, you go to their thing and do that. And so for people who maybe don't know that if you sign up for membership at Six Colors, or you sign up for membership, if you want to sign up for MacVoices After Dark, like in order to do that, like Chuck has the option to do that very easily through Apple. But right now, like all they're doing is offering an additional avenue for people to pay for those things. Not right now. It's not exclusive. It's not locked into the Apple Podcasts app. It's still an RSS feed. And so far, to the best of my knowledge, none of that has changed. And we're going to find out more as Apple is able to roll this stuff out. And folks like Chuck and Dave Hamilton over Backbeat Media and Jason Snell and other folks that we know who are involved in the financial end of these transactions are able to get that information and let people know, like, here's what's up.
I have to confess, I don't have time to listen to all the podcasts that are free that I want, so I've never signed up. But I'm kind of curious now, if you sign up for one of these, upgraded podcasts. So, okay, they send you a URL, say this is where the feed is, and I can give that to, say Overcast. And so now I've got that feed. So now let's say I stop sending money in. How do they stop me from continuing to listen to that feed?
Your feed is customized to you, and that feed is discontinued.
They have a feed for every customer?
Yeah, from the two places that I know that do this, you log into the page like with an email, and it says, here's your feed for this and this and this and this and this. And here's all the ones you have access to. Pick and choose the ones that you want to subscribe to. And then when you stop paying, your feed's unplugged.
Okay, it hadn't occurred to me that there would be a custom feed on the server side for every customer. I don't know if that would scale to Apple's level.
Difficult to say.
A lot of there's so many. I mean, this is why I wanted to leave this last, because I knew it would be getting inside baseball. And so is this a paywall? Is this just a Patreon-like way to enhance revenue for podcasters? Is it a way to manage custom content? That one seems pretty clear. But there's so many questions here. And then the third-party issues. Libsyn generates my podcast feed, so my audio podcast feed. So what are they going to have to do to be able to do this if I want to participate? Paul in the chat rooms asked, could Apple add ads to every podcast or to any podcast? Well, there's another question. Is if it's being delivered through the Apple Podcast app, there's no reason they couldn't attach it to the pre or post roll. So a lot of questions here to be answered that we just don't have the answers on.
I have a theory. This just occurred to me as you were talking, Chuck. And here's why. Because that was the whole, it's this. It's so that, right? It's so that Apple can give us exclusive content. So I am a TV Plus subscriber, and now I can get the special For All Mankind podcast. I can get the special season 2 Ted Lasso. We got a season 2 announcement of Ted Lasso today. It's coming in July, and I couldn't be more excited. And as an Apple TV subscriber, I get extra special access to that content, that Lasso adjacent content that they're going to generate. And because I pay, I'm like, they're going to lock that into the podcast app. And then in the podcast app, it'll know, okay, it's cool for you to get these extra these extra things that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And I
Kelly,
think
that's not a
Apple
new
did it.
idea.
No, but I think Apple did it for themselves. I think this subscription option thing that they've rolled out for everybody is something that's going to be nice for some people, but it's really going to be nice for Apple, because if you've subscribed to Fitness Plus, you get all the fitness podcast trainers. You get the shows from all the Fitness Plus trainers. If you subscribe to TV Plus, you get the stuff from them. If you subscribe to Apple Arcade, you get to listen to the podcast that they put together with the designers of those games that you like to play. This is a content play for Apple.
It may be. It may be.
I don't think that belongs in my house. That sounds way more reasonable than a lot of stuff that I come up with.
Well, I see. I feel like, though, that this is sort of Apple's way of combating Spotify, because when I read the little bit of the announcement, I noticed one particular studio that produces shows that I have listened to in the past, and it's Pushkin. And so right there, they're saying, this allows Pushkin Studios to be in the podcast app, because up to this point, there's been no mechanism for there to be in Apple Podcasts, because they want to be monetized. And the way at least the shows I've listened to, the way they monetize them is they put them behind Spotify's wall for 2, 3, 6 weeks, months, whatever, and then release them to the world for free. So now they will have that option that they will be able to charge something, and I assume that will be the equivalent of a paywall for those kind of studios and producers. So I think this has a lot of different facets to it. You're right. I think I said this to Ken Ray about that this could be just a content channel for Apple. So lots more questions than we have answers. I think we have answers on a lot of the hardware and all. This one we don't have a lot of answers for.
We'll find out though soon enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I tried, guys. I really did, to try to wrap this up in an hour and a half, and it just didn't happen. So
that's only partly on me.
Half hour of it.
Okay.
So, let's go around the room. Let everybody know where they can find you, and then we'll get out of here. So I'll take my screen as it is now, because it's been shifting. But Jeff is still up first. Jeff?
Wow, go me. All right. I'm easy to find. I'm Jay Gamet on Twitter and Instagram. I'm here on Tuesdays, the Big Show and the Mac Show at the end of the week. And I do a lot of shows. I get around, and I have so many notes about today that I'm thinking I just need to record a separate video where I go through all of my notes, because holy crap, there was so much to go over. So maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, agreed. Yep. Thanks for being here, Jeff, and for sharing your notes. David Ginsburg, I know you were making almost as many notes, maybe more, than Jeff Gamet.
I was, and even some screenshots too. I will. You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Chuck will be on the show this week, and I'm on the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network, and Mac to the Future Go live cast on Wednesday nights, but probably not tomorrow night. And on Twitter, I'm at DaveG65. Thank you as always for having me, Chuck.
It's always a pleasure, David. Thank you. Thanks. Mr. Ray, I judging by your comments, you were watching this just as intently as anyone else.
I always do, actually. And I made sure to study all my RSS feeds this afternoon so that I'd know what was going on for this. So you can find me at ProView.com, ProView Development, and also ProView Jim at Twitter. And I guess here on Tuesdays.
Thank you for being here, Jim. It's always good. Mr. Petrie, we are pushing you to an iPad-only lifestyle. Oh, you're muted.
You're
Frank.
muted, hon. But also,
you're still muted.
I think you're putting us on now.
Yeah, he's totally screwing with us.
No, it says in their thing that if you hit the space bar, you unmute. Well, anyhow, I'm sorry. What did you ask, Chuck? I'm sorry.
I said we're pushing you to an iPad only lifestyle.
No, it's an experiment. I explained, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, that I sold my 8 Plus, bought an SE 2020. I want to get a good iPad. And I think that with the right lenses and the right glass, you can still produce a quality video as you would with the higher end desktops.
Absolutely.
And one question I wanted to ask, did anybody notice today, did you watch the credits at the end of the show?
Yes.
Okay. And they had mentioned Ted Lasso. Now, what was Ted Lasso's thing that he always gave his manager?
Secret handshake.
Sex?
Biscuits.
No,
Biscuits.
it was that special peanut butter fudge. Remember, he'd make it for her?
He makes
the
cookies.
biscuits.
They're
Yes,
biscuits.
the biscuits.
Is that what their biscuit? Now,
Yeah,
if you
biscuits.
watch the credits today,
Don't spoil it
just
for
as they
Brittany.
got to the end, it said recipe for Ted Lasso's secret biscuits. And just as it started to show, it went to black.
I know.
I thought that was
And
just
it's
great.
not
I was
even
wondering if
fair.
everybody saw that. But
I
anyhow,
missed
you
that.
can find me at ympnow.com. I do a monthly review for Screencast Online. And I can be found here waiting for the next Tuesday night.
Great. Always good to have you, Frank. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Ms. Kelly Guimont, thank you for all your opinions and thoughts.
You say that now. No, I'm kidding. You can find me weekdays, including today, where over at themacobserver.com, where I host the Mac Observer Daily Observations podcast, a trail that was blazed by Jeff Gamet. And I just sit in his seat now. And Brian Chaffin and I broke everything down over there today. You can listen to us talk about it. You can find me over at The Incomparable, where I occasionally show up on other shows, whether it's playing a game or talking about something else like Star Wars that I really, really like. The rest of the time, you can find me over there on my own show, I Want My MCU TV. And when Westworld comes back, I'll be over there again with a whole nother show. And you can find me over on aftershowpodcast.com, where I have a show with Mike Rose, where the two of us catch up every couple of weeks. And if you say hello to us when you listen to the podcast, we will say hello to you back on the next episode. And the rest of the time, if you still can't get enough of me after listening to me here, you can find me as Verso on Twitter.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. Mark Fuccio, you came in late, but we appreciated your contributions. Where can folks find you?
Easiest way is Twitter at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all one word, lowercase.
Great to have you. Thanks so much for making it, even for a little while.
I'll have
Last
to listen to what I missed on the first two parts of this.
Oh, there was quite a bit. Believe me, there was quite a bit.
It started at 3:00.
Yeah. Yeah. How do we do a 2-hour show about a 1-hour set of announcements? I don't understand.
You invite
Last-
Jeff and Kelly.
That'll do it right there.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they went so fast.
Man,
Yes.
did they.
Last but not least, Miss Brittany Smith. Brittany, where can we find you?
Hi, thanks for having me on Twitter for nerdy tech stuff. I am ADD Liberator. My website is conquer.consulting. This last week, I was on the Small Business Show, and next week, I'll have more exciting podcasts to share.
Cool. Great. And if you didn't listen to
you
her
can
on
also
the,
find.
oh yeah, if you didn't listen to Brittany on the Small Business Show, smallbusiness.co, it's a great interview. Really nicely done. Nicely done.
It was awesome.
Kelly, you had something?
Yeah, I forgot and I feel bad. I was recently a guest on In Touch with iOS, hosted by some guy named David. I don't know if you can find it online or not. But you can also find me on Jay Miller's Pit Show. He's here occasionally, and he interviewed me, and I sat down and told him I really don't do that much stuff. And then he made me talk about all the stuff I do. And it made me tired to realize how busy I actually am. So if you want to
I'm
watch
so
me,
happy that he made you do that.
if you
Yeah.
want to watch me come to the realization of like, wow, I do a lot of stuff. You can listen to it happen right there, like in the middle of his podcast. So it's a lot of fun.
Okay, good. Watch Kelly melt down. Hey guys, thank you all for being here. This was a great discussion. I know we could have gone on for at least another hour because there's so many different aspects of this, but hopefully we get this out in time for people to make their AirTag purchases on Friday and make some intelligent decisions about what else they might be buying along the way. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. We do this Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I definitely want to say thank you to the chat room for all their contributions tonight and for sticking with us. We keep trying to get back to the hour slot, and we just never seem to be able to do it, and we're going to blame it on Apple tonight. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.